Hi friends. Hi friends, I'm Olivia Smith. Thanks for visiting my YouTube channel where I share the latest global news every day. You can also read more news on TimeGlitter.com. You can find all the links in the video description below. Friends, don't forget to hit the like button, drop a comment, share with others, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now let's jump into today's news. News headline: The Not So Super Tuesday is over. America has two clear choices ahead. News details: The conclusion of Not So Super Tuesday marks the end of two somewhat artificial primaries, solidifying what has been common knowledge for months. The forthcoming presidential elections are poised to mirror those of 4 years past. Despite a deluge of op-eds and a staggering influx of campaign funds, Donald Trump emerged unscathed in the Republican primaries, while Joe Biden encountered no substantial opposition, securing victory without truly hitting the campaign trail. So what does this mean for the United States? In numerous respects, the upcoming elections are shaping up to echo the patterns of many presidential contests witnessed throughout this century. The competition will predominantly feature two candidates burdened by low popularity, rallying primarily around an anti-vote sentiment fueled by a widely held belief that this election could determine the fate of America. However, the circumstances are arguably graver than those of 4 years prior, as both the electoral landscape and the political climate have deteriorated. The inherent undemocratic nature of U.S. presidential elections has long been a point of contention, largely due to the Electoral College, a mechanism the Founding Fathers implemented as a buffer between the popular vote and the actual selection of the president. Additionally, the decentralized voting process has facilitated instances of voter intimidation and suppression, with African Americans being disproportionately targeted, along with an increasing focus on Hispanic and college student voters. Ironically, despite the claims of 1/3 of Americans who assert the illegitimacy of Biden's victory, the 2020 presidential elections were deemed the most free and fair in U.S. history. Despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, which prompted a significant expansion of absentee and mail-in voting opportunities, experts affirmed the elections as the most secure in history. Nevertheless, Republicans have weaponized their baseless allegations of a stolen election to curtail voting access, primarily through the enactment of restrictive voter identification and absentee mail-in voting laws at the state level, seeking to regain control over the electoral process. Today, over 80% of Americans express concerns about the state of democracy in the U.S. and the potential for political violence in the future. Surprisingly, this is one of the few points of agreement among Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike. However, they sharply diverge on what's at stake and who poses the greatest threat. Ironically, both sides have valid points, largely because they represent fundamentally opposing visions of America. Republicans argue that Democrats aim to destroy America, rooted in a belief of Christian nationalism, which asserts the U.S. as a Christian nation, built on biblical values and the notion of a traditional, implicitly white family. While many Democrats do indeed challenge this vision of America, it contradicts the principles outlined in the revered U.S. Constitution. Conversely, many Democrats fear that another Trump presidency would spell the demise of U.S. liberal democracy as enshrined in the Constitution. This concern holds weight, given the Republican Party's shift towards extreme far-right ideologies over the years, aligning closely with the rhetoric and leadership style of their polarizing figurehead. As the November elections approach, it's premature to predict which vision of America will prevail. Polls should be taken with a grain of salt, especially until October, as voter turnout, largely influenced by circumstances closer to Election Day, will be the decisive factor. While Democratic candidates have consistently won the popular vote in recent presidential elections, the U.S.'s electoral system doesn't guarantee victory based on this metric alone. The likelihood of a close race in key states hints at a potential drawn-out legal battle in the event of a Trump loss, with the increasingly partisan Supreme Court possibly holding the final verdict. To safeguard U.S. democracy for another term, Democrats face numerous challenges in the months leading up to the elections. While the Republican base remains energized, many potential Democratic voters remain undecided or tepidly committed to Biden. Moreover, some liberal media outlets, notably the New York Times, risk repeating the mistakes of 2016 by fixating on Biden's age and health, potentially detracting from more substantive discussions. Let's be straightforward. forward. The age and health concerns surrounding both Biden and Trump present significant challenges for the demanding role of the presidency. However, these are the choices laid out by the parties and primaries for American voters. Notions that the Democrats could still swap Biden and emerge victorious against Trump are simply unrealistic. The Democratic electorate and politicians are notably more diverse and divided compared to Republicans, with no standout candidate who could unite them as effectively as Biden or rival the name recognition of both Biden and Trump. Furthermore, any new contender would have to establish their campaign and reputation under the shadow of a Democratic president who has already secured a considerable number of delegates in the primaries. So, whether we're comfortable with it or not, American voters face a stark choice between two distinctly different Americas, embodied by two older and unpopular candidates. If Biden prevails, we might not witness significant changes, except for potentially heightened resistance from Republican-led states against the federal government. However, a return of Trump to the White House would signify fundamental shifts in the U.S., and not necessarily for the better. Regardless of any legitimate concerns potential Democratic voters may harbor about Biden, let's hope they can overcome them by November 5th. The fate of both the U.S. and the world hinges on this decision. Friends, don't forget to hit the like button, drop a comment, share with others, and subscribe to